Gluckstein Lawyers proudly present Butter Torts, a truly Canadian legal podcast. We're excited to have you join us bi-weekly as we interview guests on a variety of different topics related to personal injury. We look forward to sharing our expertise, insights, and most importantly, our stories with our listeners while providing a better understanding of the personal injury legal landscape. You'll have a chance to meet many members of our amazing team and learn more about the role they play in helping our clients lead better lives.
Everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Butter Torts, a truly Canadian legal podcast. My name is Brenda Agnew. For those of you who do not know, I am sometimes joined by a co-host, but I'm doing this solo today, and that is okay. It is my pleasure to welcome Marc Robert from Trexo Robotics to our podcast today. Welcome, Marc.
Hi, how you doing? Hi. So I will get you to edit. So it's Robert.
Oh, well, we don't even have to edit. We can leave it as it is. It's Marc Robert. That's okay.
Cool.
How
you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. I'm good.
So Marc Robert, and I should know that because it's Marc with an M-A-R-C. So I should have known. Well, I mean, my dad's French. I mean, I'm half French Canadian, so I should have been aware of that.
That's what it is. My dad, same thing.
So my dad's name is Claude. So I should have been super aware of that. But thank you for that correction, and thank you again for being here. I had the pleasure of being on a podcast with Marc and his coworker, Sarah. And we had a great conversation, I guess a couple of months ago now. And I had said, listen, I need to return the favor. Unfortunately, Sarah couldn't join us today, but just really thrilled to have Marc here. And we're just going to have a conversation. It's amazing how worlds collide a little bit. And I've been following the work of what Trexo Robotics has been doing for a number of years. I remember your founders coming out to some of the conferences that I had been at. We were like, who are these people? And what is this device? And, here we are full circle, all these years later. And I see you guys everywhere in the disability community. So give us a little bit of information, Marc, about you, about Trexo. Let listeners know, a little bit about your company and what it is that you do.
All right. So to be honest, what I'll do is I'll give you a little bit of the story, and why not? It's an easy way to do it all at the same time.
Great.
Well, before I got with Trexo Robotics, I used to work at a hospital in Hamilton as a rehabilitation support worker for guys who had acquired brain injuries in an inpatient program. I did that for 15, 17 years. And then I was doing that actually when COVID closed the world down. Mm-hmm. And just about 4 or 5 months prior to COVID closing things down, I had seen online this device. This robotic thing that could make a kid's legs move. And I know that I'd been spending a lot of my time at that point because my son has a rare genetic condition and was not able to do that kind of stuff on his own. I'd have him in a gait trainer down on the sidewalk, and I was moving his legs right and left to try and get him to start initiating steps on his own. It wasn't really working to the best of my abilities, and I was getting bruises on my knees, and it wasn't a pleasant experience, but at the same time, it's what you got to do, right? So when I saw this robot, I was like, okay, well, this thing looks pretty cool. Like, I got to take a look at it a little further and Googled where it was. And I live in Milton, and this thing happened to be in Mississauga. So I had originally thought it was going to be some other foreign country, which is what you would expect it to be. Yeah. And then I kind of went, oh, okay, this is going to be I got to try that. We made arrangements. I brought my son into the office and we trialed it out. And it basically replaced my need for getting on my hands and knees on the sidewalk. And I was like, okay, I got to figure out a way to do that. But then I had to figure out how to raise the funds for it because I didn't have the $40,000 laying around to buy one. And this was also back when crowdsourcing was kind of a new thing, and GoFundMe was just a new thing. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see. I don't really know how to do this, but we got a friend of ours to give us a hand who was tech savvy and happened to have a good camera and took a little video, and we made a little thing. And then I took advantage of the 2020 Super Bowl when everybody was betting, looking on their phones. And I posted a thing on Facebook, and miraculously, it worked out fairly well, and we were able to acquire the funds for it and order one for him, and then it got delivered like a month into COVID. It was like May 2020. Yeah. And that's back when the company was hand delivering machines. There was only, I don't know, 50 or 60 of them that were out there at the time. I didn't know that because I was a customer at that point. But and then because I was working in a hospital setting, and the world was terrified at that point, I had a son who had lots of different issues. Some of them were respiratory at one point, like really hard respiratory ones. So I was terrified of bringing something home. So I took CERB and I stayed home. And basically I decided at that point to use it as an opportunity instead of as what was going on. Yeah. And I basically spent the next 6 months walking up and down my street with my son, just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And after 6 months of doing it, I was able to take the seat away from it because he had enough strength in his legs to be able to hold himself up. I was like, okay, we're moving. This is happening.
Right. This is doing stuff.
This is doing stuff. And I was like, okay, this is when school started open back up in September because we had to get back to normal, I guess, at that point. And I figured, you know what? He's in, I think it was grade 1 at the time. I'm like, he's in grade 1. He needs to get some exercise. So I'll just bring it to the school and teach everybody at the school how to use it. And I'll drop it off on Mondays because like his sleeping patterns, because of his genetic disorder, he's got epilepsy. He's got a ton of other issues. But the epilepsy piece, we have to medicate him every 12 hours. Right. Medication knocks him out. He goes to sleep. So he sleeps basically 12 hours a day.
Right.
And when your kid's going to school for 7 hours a day, and it takes about an hour just to get him ready in the morning and another hour and a half to kind of feed him and get him ready in the evening, you're left with not a whole heck of a lot of time. No. So where are you supposed to get this machine to, like, you want to get him his exercise, but it was taxing. It was hard to fit it in. Yeah. Well, we just took it to the school, and I trained everybody at the school on how to use it and figured it's a better environment than it would be sitting in my house anyway. So we'll do it there. And then after about a month of it being in the school, I contacted Trexo and I said, hey, I'm having issues with this thing. It's not connecting to the internet. I don't know how to do this. It's having issues connecting at the school. And I was promptly informed that it shouldn't have been at the school and that I wasn't trained. I hadn't oops. Be training people to do that because it was a medical device. And I was like, oh, well, it's been going on for a month now. I don't know how you want to do that. What do you want to do? And he said, well, to be honest, why don't we need somebody to come and train people how to do it? And you seem like you're doing it.
You're already doing it.
So you can probably apply for the position. I said, okay, well, and then, one thing led to the next. And next thing I know, I'm working for a tech company. Like before that, everything was pen and paper. I didn't even use a computer for like my notes in the hospital. Everything was handwritten. Yeah. I had no idea what was going on. And then systematically over the next, it was the next 2 years, they put me in a customer success position, which is the person who is the tech support guy for all the people in robots. Exactly what I should be doing. Yeah. So anyway, so lo and behold, like after picking the brains of the software guys and the mechanical guys at the office, I was able to figure out how to get one of these things working. And if there was problems with it, they showed me how to diagnose the issues. And over time, I was able to become the tech support guy.
Absolutely.
So, which, I don't know, took about a year and a half. But then I was doing remote Zoom calls with all the families that had Trexos as the only tech support guy. So so tech support, but also trying to show them how to, what it ended up being was mostly what ends up happening a lot of the time, I find with equipment that gets given to families is they get given it and sometimes they don't get shown how to properly set it up so that But what ends up happening with this thing is if you don't set it up properly, it's uncomfortable and the kids end up having problems.
Okay.
It's uncomfortable. And the family spend a lot of money on this thing and they want it to be successful.
Yeah.
The really way to do that is to have it fitting nicely and addressing every issue as they arise.
Yeah.
So the way the Trexo works is that everybody who gets one of these things gets an app on their phone so they can just private message their support worker, which is me for everybody for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it was just basically showing people what I was doing with Mitchell. Like I was trial and erroring it with my son.
Yeah.
And then just turning around and taking that information and spreading it as widely as I could, while at the same time taking all the little bits and pieces of all the families. Like if they ran into issues, I would take those issues and bring it back to the design team and say, look, this family is experiencing this problem. How do we address that? And then what ended up happening is over the span of, I don't know, 3-4 years, we changed the design of every single part on the machine. And now it fits like an old baseball glove, where before it was uncomfortable. So like, it's incredibly adjustable now, and it works at a level that I didn't think was possible 4 years ago.
So you're basically being like a special needs dad. That's what. Right. Everything you're talking about, I'm smiling and laughing because it just resonates. And I think you were probably being a little bit of their therapist and a little bit of their venting and a little bit of like offering them hope and sharing successes and listening to their concerns. And then also doing this, formal tech part. But, I think nothing replaces, in my opinion, the insights and assistance from someone who just gets it, because, and that's even more so than, the occupational therapists that we work with who are amazing, or the equipment specialists we work with who are also amazing. There's nothing like someone who gets it, who when I try to explain dystonia to someone, who gets it, the person with dystonia and the person who cares for the person with dystonia. Right. And so, I'm sure you reaching out to these families and being their tech support, you were able to, gather that information from them in a meaningful way, and then articulate that in a meaningful way, and be able to probably bring it back to Trexo to say, like, this is why this is important. This is why this is impactful. And this isn't just a complaint. These are real issues that are possibly impacting the success of this device with this family. And I think that's incredible.
Honestly, it's the only real way to make this thing successful is to have that constant feedback. And you have to have a really good relationship with those families. They have to feel comfortable enough to tell you what's going on, to make it that open dialogues, because everybody needs that information, because the design team needs it to be able to stop this from happening, whatever it is happening, to better the product. But the family, I don't know, it was a very, very humbling role to get to be, because I was basically like a Zoom family member. Anytime, like weekly, I would have half-hour Zoom calls with the same families every week for sometimes years. It was, I don't know, it was more than just a tech support thing. It was like, if I run into these people on the street that come over and hug me, it's a different ballgame.
100%. And, we talk a lot about the role of community in general. And, Marc is in a group that I moderate for families who have children with a very varied range of neurodiversities. But, to your point, our community comes to depend on one another, to problem solve, to ask questions of, to get feedback, to vent, whatever that might be. So I could absolutely see what that would be like, that connection that you would have with those families. And to your point, it's humbling to be in a position where they're asking for your advice. They're putting all their kind of faith and hope that you're going to be able to help them figure this out, because, having a device like that for children and families who have probably been told the chance of independent mobility is next to nothing, or just haven't found success in finding a way to help those children either wait there or take steps or be fully independent in their mobility. This is a big thing for these families. There's nothing that takes that away when you think that wasn't going to be something that you would ever witness. So there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of financial investment. It's a whole big ball of stuff going on, right?
Absolutely. There's a lot of hopes in a lot of different ways going on, and families are desperate because this is seen as, at this point, it's the only option that can give them the thing that they're desperate for. And they're like, at the end of the day, it's a toolbox, right? Which is great if you're good with hammers and tools. But if you're not good with hammers and tools, you need that extra support because you still have those desires for your child. And like, just because you're not a carpenter doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to provide that to them.
Yes.
So we, like, as a company, need to be able to do that. And thankfully, we're able to quite successfully at this point. Like, I'm watching kids do things that they were told, their parents were told numerous times that it was never going to happen. And it's nice. I don't know. I don't know how.
It's pretty incredible.
It's incredible in a lot of different ways. Yeah. Like, there's options.
So for people that may not be fully aware, and we'll put information on this podcast when it's released, but essentially what the device is, it's like an exoskeletal robotic device. And so there's a walker that's out there. It's a gait trainer, but there's a walker that's out there that this company has created this exoskeletal device that that basically it just sort of I'm not going to get the term, but it basically attaches to the child's legs. It helps them with that robotic assistance, meets them where they're at to help them take those steps. And so, so not only for possible independent mobility, but also for things like weight bearing. And, we talk a lot in the disability community about the importance of hip health, and being upright helps with digestion, and being active helps with sleep. And there's the social aspect of it, because now you're able to find a way for that child to participate in some sort of recreational activity or just be on the level with their peers. So, it's a robotic device, but what it allows for is so much more than just, and I'm doing this with just a child taking steps. Because the reality is that seeing your child take steps is super important, but it's all the other things that sort of come with that I think bring the even greater joy for these families. And this is what this device has been allowing.
So, like, I can tell you right now from personal experience, like, my son does triathlons.
There you go.
My son will never be able to take independent steps.
Right.
But we're getting close to 3 million steps that he's taken in the device. His hips are perfect.
Yeah.
He has core strength. He can stand up in the shower with me for 10, 15 minutes at a time, where before you'd these are things that were not on the table.
Yeah.
And I have thankfully been able to be a part of that for tons of families, because I was that fly on the wall in the family room while it was happening.
Yeah.
And it'll be a little bit of time until the data comes out to prove what is happening, but prove.
Yeah.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, I think it is. There's just no question. And the fact that this can be used to allow these kids to do functional activities that they would have never been able to access.
Yeah.
It's a total, and I say it all the time, it's a game changer, but I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah.
My son can walk to and from school.
Yeah. It's interesting because years and years ago, I was involved with a study with the LocoMat, and the LocoMat, for people who are kind of listening, the LocoMat is it's big. It's a huge robotic device that, the child is placed into, and the legs are monstrous. It's housed, the one that we were involved with is housed over at Bloorview, the same kind of concept beside it, but you were stationary. You couldn't, the idea at the time with the LocoMat, which is the same with this one, but the idea at the time with the LocoMat was, that gait training and to create those pathways. And what was interesting, Mark, is when the study first came out, when the research piece first came out, and for anyone that's listening that's familiar with the GMFCS, so the GMFCS is basically a gross motor classification scale. It's essentially what researchers and therapists use to determine a child's gross motor functionality. And so it's like kind of 1 to 5. And 1 might be for those children who have a slight gait problem, maybe a couple of things going on. And then, to 5, where we see children who are, right. I live in the 4 to 5. So, theoretically, kids who will be in a power chair or who will never have independent mobility of any type, or, anyways, when they first did the study with the Locomat, they were only putting kids in it who were gross motor function 1, 2, and 3. And we did a lot of work because I was involved at the time with the charitable organization that did the funding for this research project. And there was a bunch of us putting up our hands saying, hold on a second. We have a slew of kids who are in the GMFCS level 4s and 5s who don't have access to any of this kind of stuff, who can't get prescriptions for walkers because they can't take independent steps. Because that's the amazing part. In order to get a prescription for a walker, you have to be able to show that you can take independent steps in a walker. Well, I always say, tell me about the family. Tell me when you go to buy a bike at Toys R Us, does the person at Toys R Us make you ride the bike around the store before they let you buy the bike? No, because you got to bring it home so you can learn how to ride a bike. But I digress. So, the initial project was supposed to be just for these kids who were 1, 2, 3s. And there was no conversation about what were the neural pathways that were created, what was the weight bearing, what was the importance for, orthotic or the impact on orthopedics. Anyways, they eventually did that and they brought some of these kids in. But the thing with the Locomat, it wasn't easily accessible. It was stationary, and it really was more of those kids 1, 2, 3. Then we see, this incredible, and I want you to talk after I finish rambling about how this came to be, but then we see this completely accessible, tangible product that comes out that can be used in the community, used in a school. It's for kids 1 to 5, it's attainable. And to your point, it's a game changer because it doesn't discriminate between what kind of gross motor functionality you have. There's lots of different ways. This device can allow a child, it works with the child as their steps and their independence progresses or decreases. So kids having a more tired day, it kicks in a little bit more, right? If they're,
I was just about to say, so the thing is effectively what it is robotic legs that you can adjust the length as the child's growing, but you can also adjust the amount of support that it's offering in various different quadrants on the legs. So if a child is weaker in their hip on one side, we can help by adding a little bit more effort in that area. But basically there's 4 motors on the joints, on the 2 on the hips and 2 on the knees, and they're adjustable in support depending on what that person needs, with the goal of over time reducing them all down as the person gets stronger. But the beauty of those legs is they're recording how much effort that the person's putting in. So even if the person's nonverbal, which a lot of these kids are, we can track how much effort that they're putting in and then tweak the parameters based off of the data. And it's not on the parents to understand this because our physiotherapists meet with them every 3 months. We do it for them.
Yeah.
So it's a completely inclusive system with the goal of making these kids better. Because ultimately, this thing was designed by people who needed it in their own lives. It's purpose driven. My CEO, Minmeet, his nephew, Pranit, was the reason why this thing was invented in the first place.
Right.
Him and Rahul were going to mechatronics engineering at Waterloo University, and were tasked with making a big project for their capstone for their master's program.
Yeah.
And that's when Pranit was born. And they said, okay, well, let's make something important. And they decided to do an exoskeleton, and everybody told them they were bonkers. Here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, here we are. And that's what I love about it. And this is, a lot of again, I go back to the years ago when I would see them coming through, with this device, and we were like, what the heck is this? And this is, but, I love the fact that as Canadian founders, it was born out of a need. It's you made it accessible to families. And what I think has been really cool is that I've been watching some of the, well, I will watch everything that you guys post, but it was primarily, we'd see a lot of coverage around kids that were using it, which obviously is super important for the development. But now we're starting to see as well, I saw that it was an adult that had come in that was taking a look at it. It's not just for kids that have cerebral palsy or who have, other comorbidities. It's, could be a child that's had, I don't know. I'm not even going to spina bifida.
We've had people with any motor impairments that, like, I had a woman come in who in her 60s with multiple sclerosis, and effectively right now our parameters are anybody under 68 kilograms or 150 pounds. But that's it. As long as I'm willing to give it a shot and see.
Yeah, I've got to get McLean in there. I keep talking about this, and I didn't miss the window, but it's funny because you had met my son Chase, and Chase had the absolute pleasure. He was so grateful for it, but he had a co-op opportunity at Trexo over the summer, and I have to tell you, again, you talk about worlds colliding, but here we are. I've got my almost 20-year-old son who is knows nothing. I mean, he was 19 months old when McLean was born. So for all intents and purposes, he doesn't know really life without McLean. And I dragged Chase to every therapy appointment, every physiotherapy, O2. He has been through every walker that's come through here. He has been in power wheelchair trials. I mean, the kid has run the gamut. He's been around kids with disabilities his entire life. And, to see the enthusiasm and the excitement, like he came home the first day and he was like, Mom, I wonder if they could have this kind of headrest and if they could do this, and you've got to get McLean there and you've got to bring him. And, to see the excitement from his perspective about being involved with something that was fundamentally, firsthand impacting and helping kids like his brother. It was amazing. And, there was no level for him at all of being uncomfortable around any kid that came in because this was just so commonplace. But he said to me all summer, he was there for 4 months, Mom, you got to bring McLean. Mom, you got to bring McLean. Mom, you got to bring McLean. And I never did. And I do need to, because he's still under that weight category. But I love to see the expansion of where we are starting to see this benefit other individuals in that community, because that's the beauty of these types of devices and inventions, right? That they don't just impact one type of individual, right?
There's so many people that have been able to use this thing that didn't. When you see the videos online, like a lot of them in the very beginning were, as you were saying, tiny kids, and you thought it was designed for 4 and 5-year-olds because it was just easy to get the videos, and we didn't really have that much of a marketing team at the time. There was only a few people kind of getting videos. Now you're seeing, as you probably have on Facebook and such, there's lots of stuff coming around these days. But and it's we've been able to start using the extra large Rifted dynamic pacer a couple of years ago, which really changed things because we were able to take longer leg lengths, and now we can accommodate a bigger group of people.
What's the process look like, Marc, for someone, you touched on the pricing earlier, and I think it's also important for people to understand before you answer that, but there's a lot of conversation in the disability community. I know I've been very vocal about it, about the extraordinary cost of some of the things that we have to purchase. But I say this because I want to say a bit of a caveat. To me, there's things that should cost more money. For me, when I buy a wagon, let's say that's deemed special needs, and then it's going to be $1,500, that's problematic. I'm not sure why I'm spending $3,000 for a shower chair or a commode. That's beyond let's not talk about the $4,000 Peapod, which is essentially, and the Peapod people can come after me, I don't care. It's a big beanbag chair is what it is. It's a big beanbag chair that has a pommel and a little bit of foam contouring in it. Those to me are astronomical. We buy them because McLean needs them. He likes them. He benefits from that. But those to me make absolute no sense as to why it costs that much money. Something like this absolutely makes sense to me as to why it costs this much money. This is a very intricate, robotic device that has to be the way that it is in order for it to work the way it is. So we know that there's a cost there, but there's a reason for that cost. What's the process that someone goes through, Marc, to get a hold of one of these, or to go through the process to acquire one? Does it need do they need a prescription? How does it work if a family wants to get something like this for their kid? Or just an individual wants to get one.
Yeah. So basically anybody who is looking to get one of these things, you can go to our website, and there's a way to, if you're in the Greater Toronto area or in like Southern Ontario, want to come in for a trial, there's a button there that you can push that will ask for your phone number and your name, and then you come in and have an hour with me, and we just kind of have a conversation, and I'll tell you basically the stuff that I'm about to say anyway. Yeah. But we'll do that while you're going for a walk. But if it's somebody from a foreign country, say, who is like somebody this morning I was speaking with in Zambia, but like every day I'm talking with people all over the planet because it's the only thing available that can do what it does. Yeah. So, so for instance, the person I was speaking with this morning, she wanted to know, how do I get one of these for my child who's 10 years old and has cerebral palsy? Okay. Yeah. So if you go on our website, there's a place where you book a reservation. Or you place a reservation, and what it does is it asks for like a $500 deposit to say that you are interested in doing this, and then you get an email back that gives you a booking link to book a 1 hour Zoom call with our physiotherapy people. And then you do a 1 hour Zoom call, and they're going to ask you some questions about your medical history, make sure it's suitable for you, where we don't want to hurt anybody. We want to make sure that everybody's within the parameters of what we can deal with, which is like honestly 99% of the people that we speak with. I think I've only ever had to negate like under 10 people out of the 500 or 600 that have put their names in. So like once we get to that point and we've done the medical assessment, you do a Zoom call with our physios, and they either approve you or they don't. And if they approve you, that deposit money goes towards the price of your machine. It's not like you're paying for a deposit for something. And if for whatever reason we decide that it's not going to be suitable, we just refund it back in.
Amazing. Okay.
And then if you're going forward, then we have leasing options, we have financing options. There's monthly payments. Most families get into a 3-year lease. There's a 5-year financing, 7-year financing. The rates are a little bit higher because it's a financing, but sure, we have those options. But the lease option, basically the way it works is we ask you to lock in for a year. And if you lock in for a year, then you have the Trexo for a year. And if you decide to go for a second year, you lock in for a second year, but you can cancel your lease at the end of the year or at the end of the second year. But if you ended up keeping it for 3 years in a row, then you own the machine at that point.
Okay.
It's covered under warranty for those 3 years of the lease, and then you own it at that point. You can get into an extended warranty package if you feel like you want to at that point, but that's up to you. And then the other things that we do for families. So like when I got mine, I set up a GoFundMe campaign because I needed to offset the cost of the device because it's too much money. Like even though it's a monthly cost, it's still $1,000 a month. And a lot of families don't have that.
Sure.
What we do is we help families so we work with this person called Advocacy Abby, and she has a platform that she opened up in the States called supportnow.org.
Yes.
It works very similar to GoFundMe, except the rates are a little bit better. Amazing. And if you go with a reservation for a Trexo, like you've done the medical assessment and you've been approved and we've decided that this is going to be a suitable thing, she'll help you set up an online fundraising campaign. Typically, she charges families for her services, but if you go to her with a reservation for a Trexo, it's covered.
Okay. So, you guys are finding ways, and this is a great way to sort of lead into what I was going to bring up next. You're finding ways to make this, easy for people to inquire about. They can come in, they can trial it. There's options for them from a financing perspective. You've done the work to figure out, other fundraising opportunities for them if they want to explore that. So, you guys are really, there's always an opportunity, like a lot of equipment vendors, to sit back and say, well, here it is. If you can get it, great. If you can't,
We're honestly, at the end of the day, the goal for us is to help families get their kids better. And like whatever that takes, that's the goal. Yeah. Because again, it comes from people that have had to do it themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we've seen, like, what's been extraordinary for me is that, because I kind of, you've been around a little while in this community. I've been around a little while. You can tell when things are genuine. You can tell the makeup of a company. You can tell where their heart and soul is. You can tell that they're doing things for the right reasons versus, the not right reasons. And, this is something that really comes out of Trexo, is not only, again, was it developed out of a place of necessity by a family who, by individuals who are directly impacted by an individual with a disability. They have people like yourselves and Sarah that are online. That are involved. There's a lot of nothing about us without us that's going on within that company. You guys have done a really great job in highlighting awareness and the importance of inclusion and accessibility, and talking about, the greater issues in the disability community. And, just as a company, even when I talk to Jen and, there's such a genuine want and need to help people and to want to amplify voices and to advocate for people. And I think that's extraordinary. You must be so proud of that.
Honestly, this has become one of the most rewarding things that I've ever been a part of. Well, if not the most, it is the most rewarding thing I've ever been a part of. Yeah, it's remarkable. Every day I kind of slap myself in the face, and I'm shocked that I'm where I'm at, because it's the right thing for the right reasons. Right. And you just can't not feel good about doing the right thing for the right reasons.
Yeah. This device, are we starting to see these as well in private therapy places as well, Marc, for that family who can't afford to get one? Can they still access it through another channel to at least be able to utilize it as part of their therapy? I don't know much about that part of it at all. Is that something that's available?
So that we have some clinics, right now in Ontario, there's 2 smile therapy clinics that both have, but the way that the Trexo, there's a few clinics in Ontario. What we do typically is we go and have road shows in different locations. In 3 weeks, I'm going to Victoria, and we're going to bring a couple of devices, and I'll go and we've asked appointments for all the kids around, and we bring them all in and offer them all free trials, and then they come in for a day, and it's awesome. But what we usually do is the clinics that host us, we give them Trexo for 3 to 6 months for a year, so that they can kind of play with it there and decide if they want to keep one. The Kids Physio Group right now has one in Surrey, BC, but there's also the Alberta Children's Hospital in Calgary is basically our flagship in Canada outside of the Trexo office. They have 8 devices there now.
Really? Okay.
They're running tons of different programs. They're actually running a program where they're going to put their devices put them on kids in schools to start proving the benefit of them in a school setting. But there's also the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario in Ottawa. They have half a dozen devices. So we're I guess in Montreal, we have one in Saint Justin Hospital, as well as the Kids Physio Group there. Okay. And then as of next week, we're going to have one in Saskatchewan in First Steps Rehabilitation Center.
I love that. I mean, what I'm not hearing is some of our local hospitals, and that's okay. But, it'd be nice to see, maybe for my friends at Holland Bloorview that are listening.
So my apologies. Holland Bloorview has 2 devices.
Good. Okay, good. Happy to hear it. Happy to hear it. That's amazing, because that's such a big site for rehabilitation.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that some of the early funding that your founders had access was through OBI. And I know that there's a number of people from Holland Bloorview, as well as all of the treatment centers and some of the other hospitals that are also involved with OBI. So that's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. And hopefully we start to see it at, Ron Joyce, and we start to see it at some other places. That'd be amazing too.
From what I understand, the device that had been at Holland Bloorview for the last 1.5 to 2 years has just moved from just clinical usage to kids can utilize it now within Holland Bloorview. So making moves.
That is so great. I love hearing making moves. Now, talk to me about so you had a call. You said you get calls from people all over the world. Yeah. What does this look like for people to access? Is this available everywhere? Do they have to come to Canada to get it? So right now, weird right now. Well,
the only country that we're licensed to sell in right now is Canada.
Okay.
We're working at getting licensing for the United States. We're very shortly going to be available in Australia and in Hong Kong. Yeah, so that's coming down the pipe in the next couple of months. But as it stands right now, globally, to send a medical device into, well, say I'm speaking with somebody in Zambia,
Yeah.
and they want a machine. I can't ship them a machine to Zambia because it'll get stuck at customs, and because it's licensed or labeled as a medical device, the duties and the customs are astronomical. Sometimes 250, 300% of the price of the machine. And when you're talking about a $40,000 machine, it gets absolutely crazy. Not to mention, it just gets, in some countries, things never get to where they're supposed to get.
My gosh.
Like that.
Yeah.
So then, anyway, what ends up happening is we can sell within Canada. So there's two real ways for us to do it. Is we can ship it to somebody like their family in Canada and treat it like it has to be a Canadian sale though. We can sell it to their family in Canada, and they can worry about getting it to wherever they're getting it to, and then we can service it and make sure that it's operating correctly. And but that's about it.
Yeah.
As far as the other way to do it is a much nicer way to do it, but it is taxing on the family at a level that I would have a hard time myself. So the other way is for the family to fly to Pearson and come stay here for a couple of days, and they do their medical assessment prior to coming. And then they come into the office and they try one out and they make sure that it's going to be suitable. And if it's suitable, we say, here you go. And they put it on the plane and they go home.
Okay. I mean, it's available for families who have maybe raised enough, who have the financial means to be able to do that, right? So it's not ideal, but it's there as an option.
Yeah, for the very, very 1% of the 1% of the 1%.
Yeah. Because I mean, if they start, like, where are they going to get all the marks? Like, where are they going to get all of the U's when they open one up in Hong Kong and they open one up in the US and they're going to, I mean, I guess they'll still call you. You're still the guy.
So we won't be able to, because we're so hands-on with the customers.
Yeah. We'll
have to establish that type of settings in all those different places because they speak different languages and need the support, like the hand-holding support. Like, honestly, that's the best part of it's an awesome toolbox.
Yeah.
But without that hand-holding support, it's like somebody just gave you a CNC machine without instructions.
Yeah. Well, when you guys are ready to open up your New York City, Manhattan office, I would absolutely be happy to train with you and shadow you and be that person so I'll give you a few, like San Diego, when you're ready for that office, New York City. I can give you a couple of locations if you just want to put that out there when they're ready to, I'm happy. I'm happy to change careers and come and do that, Mark. So we'll just leave that as a sidebar note. But I guess, what are some of the things that kind of, as we look to sort of wrap this up, what are the things you really want to get out there about? I mean, we've talked a lot about the company today, but if you had a message for families, if there was something you wanted to impart on people, what would that be?
Honestly, the best, what I would want to impart with is the best thing that I've been able to do in this role is empower people that didn't think that there were options.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had the opportunity to reach out to all the people right now that were me 6 years ago and go and just shake them a little bit and say, hey, it takes a little bit of work, but like, you can change way more than you think you can.
Yeah.
That's what I would. Yeah.
I love that. And anyone that is listening to this, I want you to go and check out the video of Marc's son at the Jays game. It was pretty incredible. They had a whole team from Trexo that was there to cheer them on, but you have to just that good feel. I mean, I've been to games where you see the kids run the bases, but this is a different kind of running the bases. This is just fueled by inspiration and fun and love. And, it's pretty awesome. So anyone listening to this, please, the video is, it's on all of your social, but it's everywhere. It's on the social media channels. But if you just simply were even to Google, little boy running the bases in a, Trexo Robotic, the video would come up. So that, I think, really encapsulates everything that you just said, Marc, because that Like all you have to do is watch that. There's lots of other videos of kids for sure on the social media that are using this device, but that was a pretty incredible moment.
It was a heck of a day, let me tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting to see that video come through my feed regularly, it hits me right in the good spots.
It's pretty amazing. So, to just hammer home that point of, anything is possible, may look a little different, may come about in a different way. It may not look the same for everybody else, but it certainly doesn't mean that it's not as impactful or as important.
It's the little wins, and you can have them and you can make them.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Marc. I'm so glad that we got to have this conversation. I think everyone's going to really love this discussion, and we'll do this again because I would love to bring Sarah on as well. The two of them together are good comic relief. So thank you. Thank you for all the work that you're doing and being such an important part of the community. And hopefully our paths will cross soon.
I have a feeling it might. You should run into the office someday.
I will. I have to do that. It will also be when you're training me to open up the New York office. So
Yeah. We'll just double dip. That makes sense. We'll
spend some time together then. But thank you again. Thank you to everyone who participated in our discussion today, who was a part of the podcast, listening to us. We really appreciate the time you take to listen to our podcast, and we look forward to tuning in next time. Thanks again, Marc, to you and everybody at Trexo, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.